All right. Good evening, free enterprise fans, and welcome to the very first match of the bracket. We are here in the round of 64. I am Moonblaze Wolf. I am joined in the commentary booth tonight by Possum Morpheus, who I'm questioning your taste in pizza. But aside from that, we have a really great hype match coming in here. We have the 18th seed Tybalt. This is coming out of qualifiers, not reflected in the bracket, which was drafted. And the 25th seed Sorbius. So both runners in the top half of the standings are going to be duking it out tonight. And we've got a Yang hero, it looks like.
Wait, who's the hero? Oh, I'm sorry, that's just Tybalt's naming scheme. How are you this evening, Moonblaze Wolf? I hope you're well.
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm really excited to get back on the mic and get some one-on-one going here. We've had these big, massive qualifiers to kind of get us to this point, and big qualifiers are good for some things, but sometimes one-on-one, it's a little bit different, the way you play the seed, the way you approach the race, and it's going to be interesting to sort of see what our runners do tonight.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this one. I've probably raced against Tybalt and Sorbius about 100 times in campfire races. Very familiar with them, and they're both phenomenal players. I think this is one of the absolute toughest matches to predict in the entire tournament that we have so far. These two are very well versed in free enterprise. They are very knowledgeable of each other's tendencies. And neither one of them gave me any special information on what they feel about a Yang hero. So all of my preparation behind the scenes to get into the mind of our runners is for naught, because Yang didn't come up as good or bad. They're both very neutral on this hero. So very interested to see how they approach. We all know Tybalt's history with Charm Claws, and we hope that doesn't rear its ugly head. But as far as that's concerned, I am looking forward to these objectives. I don't want to see an early Earth Crystal to give our runners some extra information on the seed, some extra loot, but I would love to see them get things like a hook and maybe some tough character selections to go with this Yang, who's a little rough for early game damage.
Yeah, that second character is going to be pretty important. And yeah, looking at those two, remember everybody, Objective 4 and Objective 5 are random. 1, 2, and 3 are fixed for all of our races in this event. Yeah, the first thing that jumped out to me is our runners are probably going to have some pretty powerful stuff sooner rather than later. So.
Yeah, and a lot of it does come down to who that second character is going to be. You really hope for someone like a Kane, maybe even a Rosa with a decent bow, because Yang himself doesn't do a ton. You really want to avoid like a Tella, probably want to avoid a Porum or a Rydia, but I guess we're going to find out soon. It looks like our runners are going to the main screen, and that means that the button's about to get hit instead of eaten. So let's get this one underway and see who that second character is.
And it's the Dark Knight Cecil, so pretty low power start. Oh, there's a package right away too, though. So any third character, we could see an edge immediately. And yeah, we'll see what happens here. Definitely low power level to kick things off, but it'll pick up soon.
Yeah, DKC is great once he turns into a paladin, but this is not a team that gets up ordeals easily at all. So that third character at the package, or a potential character on Mount Hobbs, those are going to be really important for our runners. Who would you most like to see other than Edge at this package, Moonblaze Wolf?
I mean, it's actually kind of interesting because in a way, I'm actually kind of hoping that, and this will be something I'm actually curious to ask our runners about when we talk to them, probably in about 90 minutes or so. I'm actually really curious if it's like a bad character there, because in a way I don't necessarily want to give my opponent more power, and just kind of make the seed nice and open, make it a little more skill testing. So, I mean, if I wanted the character, I would say Edge or Rosa, but anything beyond, I think there's probably a bunch that you have to keep. But, I wouldn't feel too bad about seeing like an Edward or like a duplicate or something and just having to reset, because there's so many characters you have to actually keep, I think, this early on in this format. When there's no guarantee. We already just saw another duplicate Cecil at the Baron Inn. you kind of have to take what you're given. So
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And we did see already a black sword for Sorbius. That's a huge pickup there for some early game damage. Tybalt, meanwhile, looting Eblan Castle, has picked up probably 100,000 gold in heavy armor and absolutely nothing to help him in the way of damage. So he's a little shy on damage right now, but has all the money in the world. So that's going to be a good thing for him once he gets going.
And once he gets a character worth buying something for.
Well, I mean, maybe an early hook and some cat claws or something like that. There's a poison claw for Tybalt, but I think I also saw, was that a ninja shirt and a black belt on Sorbius' side?
Yeah, Sorbius grabbed a black belt, and a ninja shirt, I guess you still have to hold on to for now, but I do think it's pretty interesting as well that, again, kind of getting back to that discussion of the package, I think it's pretty interesting as well that both of our runners have opted to loot rather than go check that character right away, because I think that, at least for me anyway, the way I approach this flag set is knowing who your starting characters are absolutely informs where you want to go loot. Because there is a better chance of pulling something like a heroine robe, for example, from Eblan Castle as opposed to Watery Pass.
Definitely makes sense. Yeah, trying to find those real high impact items and leverage that. Looks like Golbez, and that Golbez is going to stay there forever, and that's a cane. Personally, I'd reset out of this and check Mount Hobbs to see if there was a cane there, so I didn't have to sit through the package. But I also don't hate Sorbius for just going through and making this check immediately.
Yeah, I didn't catch if Sorbius had any good gear for Kane in his looting run. I did see Tybalt pull an Ice Brand, which I think that Ice Brand is kind of like the cutoff point for keeping an early Kane. But yeah, this is probably about the toughest character to decide on, kind of just in the moment, because I think if it's any kind of mage, you just want to keep it. But Kane is good, but he's not amazing, and you definitely don't want to feel like, okay, well, I'm picking this character up for the entire rest of the seed, because maybe that's not the case for 3 melee characters anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Kane to me is Mr. Average. He does everything perfectly in the middle. He's okay DPS, he's okay health, he's okay defense. He's just patently average, which early on, when you can give him an Ogre Axe, a Gungnir Spear, an Ice Brand, that's actually your leading DPS and makes him viable. But mid-game and late game especially, he starts to fall off dramatically. So it'll be interesting to see what our runners opt for, but it's going to level out because they are both going through this package, both before checking Mount Hobbs, interestingly enough.
Yeah, it's going to kind of remain even Steven here, but you're absolutely right. And the thing about Kane is, you were talking about mid-game, late game. I mean, Kane honestly will fall off quite a bit as soon as the party is able to get through Mount Ordeals and transform this Dark Knight into a Paladin, which you have to think they're both going to do. So Kane maybe has less early game utility in this seed with this party than most that you would find, but even then our runners are choosing to take him, which I can't really argue with. I just sort of feel like, yeah, I want one of them to gamble a little bit and go without, but it is what it is, and they're both going to be just fine. So
yeah, I think this first game is going to be played very close to the vest. I think you'll see the gambles come out match 2 and probably 3. Most folks expect this to go 3. Also, why is Antlion in the, what is this, Kaipo, at a 400 health spot instead of on the moon in his natural habitat? I'd like a refund.
He just got lost on the way to Mysidia, clearly, so.
Yeah, I guess that's the case, but Sorbius is the first of our 2 runners here to go ahead and pick up that Kane, was able to get through that Antlion, had the black sword to help him through that, and does have that Gungnir Spear in his inventory. I will say Gungnir Spear plus a Kane early on, that is actually quite a bit of damage. And a Dwarf Axe also, so that Kane can be road. That's actually quite the nice character. You might even be able to rush Ordeals almost immediately with that. It's a very strong setup.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't notice that Sorbius had that good cane equipment. That is that is going to be a big advantage, I think, for him. And even with Thunderclaw, Tybalt is going to get through this just fine, but may not be able to pump out the DPS or have the safety of a backroad cane. Also, that vampire is a pretty nice pickup early on as well, just to call out. It'll give Yang something to do.
Well, the vampire is especially important for that individual fight on Mount Ordeals, kind of alluding to where that vampire comes in handy. Because the Sea Hero flag is on for the tournament, for anyone who's watching who may not be familiar with the flag set, the hero, who is your starting character, has to do the third fight of Ordeals by themselves, and that vampire represents 500 to 600 damage. And that is going to be about 60% of the health in that individual spot there. So it can really make things a lot easier for that third fight on Ordeals.
Here, we're going to double check who this character is. That was a Porum.
Yes.
So we do have a white mage in the seed, so that is definitely a sigh of relief for our runners. Also, Tybalt narrowly escaping the really, really bad block from the Kaipo Inn lady. She definitely took pity on him this evening.
You said you wanted gambles. Tybalt took one. He tempted fate with the Kaipo lady, and he lived to tell the tale.
When Sorbius went into that shop too, he somehow ended up to the right or to the left of the counter, and I didn't even know. Maybe that's like manipulating the Kaipo lady's movement, but that was pretty pretty gutsy there too.
He actually stood there and pushed her up, but she didn't go up. She went to the right, so he wound up and left of her, where normally she would go up into the corner. So it was kind of an interesting little dance that they did there. But looks like Tybalt heading up Hobbs, Sorbius heading down Antline. There's a Palom with an Evil Wall. I don't know about you, Blaze, but oh my goodness, I want that Palom on my team yesterday.
Yeah, and also, oh my goodness, I'm really glad I have this cane for Evil Wall now, because I don't know if this party would be able to do this without it.
It wouldn't be pleasant, and I think that vampire would get used, so yeah. This is going to be quite good. And oh my, I didn't even realize that's a Charm Rod in Tybalt's inventory for the Palom also. That's huge.
Yeah, he grabbed that in the Evelyn Castle, I'm pretty sure.
Now, this is quite a generous start. It was a little scary to begin with just Yang and DKC, but Solaris has, speaking of taking pity, has taken pity on our runners and given them a really nice early game character selection. And a glove for Cecil later on from Antline Cave.
Yeah, you don't like to see that, but Sorbius did kind of take the quick path down, so you don't feel too bad about that.
And yeah, more importantly, it also gets a level on Kane and a level on Yang. That level does represent a little more health, a little more attack power, so it will make Hobbs a little bit easier. So not the worst thing in the world, and a Silk Web on Sea Hero is amazing.
Yeah, I saw that. I was just, okay, we're not going straight out. We're just going to grab that one random chest, and Sorbius just pulls the Silk Web. That was something.
That's a chest I love to pick up on the way out, so I'm happy to see it pay off for Sorbius. Oh, and a bandana as well. Wow. Quite nice as far as strength boosting gear with a bandana and a black belt. I think personally I'd have him on Kane, but there's no wrong answer between Kane and Yang here.
Yeah, agreed. I think Sorbius had a Dragoon armor for Kane, so that's also pretty good. Can't really argue with that. I guess we have our runners crisscrossing here. This is probably just a good time to shout out the rest of our restream team. Solaris is on the restream, and I'm sure also anxiously scouting this match, because I believe this is the other match in his quadrant, if I remember correctly. And then we have Xenocat pushing the buttons so Possum doesn't eat them.
Buttons. I had to do it once. Thank you, Solaris. Thank you, Xenocat. You're both amazing. And of course, thank you to the runners for doing what they're doing, volunteering for the tournament, putting on a great show for us that will continue throughout the next, what would we say, hour and a half or 75 minutes from now. It'll be a great time.
Yeah, we'll see. This is I mean, this is 2 key item checks for, and one of them is a twin. That Pinktail is actually one that we use sometimes as an alternative to the having Coco Forge the Legend Sword and Adamant. So there's a lot of terminal key items in this seed. I would say there's a definite chance we will be here for a while. I want to give one other quick shout out to, if you are a subscriber to the Free Enterprise channel, you have a new emote, and you should definitely show that off in the chat right now.
Well, I tried. Emotes are hard. So we have Sorbius giving us our first peek at the Fabul defense, going to head on in there. Looks like Tybalt also grabbing that Silk Web out of Antlion. So nice that both runners will have that Silk Web. It is one of, if not the best, lower tier J items in the game because of its impact, stacking 2 slows on a single target. Just a huge, difference maker in a Zeromus fight or a tough fight otherwise. Just a couple of Dark Imps here, and Sorbius showing us the Swoon Tech from DKC. Would you like to explain a little about how that Swoon Tech works, Moonblaze Wolf?
Well, DKC is actually the fastest character right now. I believe a Swoon proc is guaranteed as long as Cecil is RA1 relative to the enemies when he attacks. The only unfortunate thing about this for Sorbius is that Cecil is so fast and went first and went and swooned them so quickly, was not able to maybe take advantage of a life glitch, which I think would have been nice in that fight, considering how much XP you get for this spot. We'll see if Tybalt, although I don't think Tybalt has a black sword, but we will see if Tybalt can snag that extra XP. Oh, and there's that Earth Crystal, so...
Yeah, the Earth Crystals...
Oh yeah, no life glitch, my bad.
Yeah, no life glitch, so... it would have been nice for him to show it off and watch it not work, but it's a good thought. In, every other flag set I think that's ever been run in a tournament, life glitch has been on. But there's life potions, and I eagerly await what's in this treasury. I know that I was calling for the Earth Crystal to be locked somewhere, but there is, a 1% chance for an Excalibur or Crystal Sword to be in there? I think something like that.
Yeah, there is a chance. So you're telling us there's a chance. And yeah, I'm feeling a little bit extra shamed right now, just because I was excited with the Swoon procs to talk about that, and then I forgot that I also helped design this flag set and no glitches. So yeah, go me. That's all right. I'm also not participating in the tournament, so I haven't been playing as much as you all, and awesome for you as well, I'm sure. So
yeah, I've definitely played my fair share of this flag set, so I probably have played too much of it the last few days, but hey, here we are. On the flip side, when y'all come back from ZZ4, I'm going to be sitting there life glitching, and y'all are going to forget how to do it. So there you go. Yeah, everyone's going to be looking to do D-Machine grinds and not remember the life glitch. So yeah, you're definitely right on that. Your D-Machine grinds are going to be half the time of ours. But we have Sorbius heading up Ordeals while Tybalt is taking on the Dark Imps. So this tells me that Sorbius did not do the treasury before heading up here, which is a little surprising to me. I definitely think I would have run over there and done that first.
Feeling very confident in the party, and I can't blame him, but yeah, I mean, the nice thing is if he gets through Ordeals cleanly, it's going to be a lot smoother to do that entire Toroya run all at once. So we'll see if we get a little bit of divergence here. We also might have leg.
Ooh, good leg too, because if you were to actually try to regularly attack here, the fire 2s will do meaningful damage. But as far as this is concerned, with an ice 2 here from Palom, a couple of jumps or power punches, this is not going to be the most difficult fight. So someone will die from this glare, and it looks like Yang, who is the hero, who gets XP anyway when he's dead, is going to be the recipient of the said glare. So Sorbius will be through this fight. 1 ice, 2 once the cape opens back up, and that'll be that.
Yeah, and Tybalt has the ice brand, I believe, for our viewers. But they both have bluffed ice too, which is also pretty good ice damage.
Yeah, it looks like both of them opting to fade that treasury for right now. So very interesting. Both runners more or less doing the same thing. And Sorbius up by about the time it took Tybalt to go through Eblin Castle for a little bit of looting. Really very little difference between the runners otherwise.
Wow. I've never seen that before.
Huh.
I heard you like Rubicant. How about second Rubicant?
I don't know that we're going to see second Rubicant because a single fire 2 here is going to absolutely obliterate this Mylon Z form. I hope we get to see a quarter leg here, but I fear we won't.
You are correct. But hey, the sprites were both there, and that's what counts.
We almost got a quarter and a half. Excuse me, 1 1/4. Wow, math is hard. Don't do it on stream, y'all. We almost got 1 1/4 leg on Minor Deals. That would have been a blast.
That's almost a full meal at KFC.
Now I want fried chicken. I'll just have to raid a dumpster later tonight. We'll be good.
I'll recommend the one behind the KFC.
Yes, that sounds like a great idea, actually. But now we have one of the more interesting parts of any Sea Hero run. Ruby actually would have been quite interesting in this room, but Ruby is, out of the pool now. So we can hope for things like Val, maybe even a cheeky Wyvern. But this is where Yang is going to have to fight solo. This is that third Ordeals fight that on Sea Hero is super fun. And speaking of super fun, well, there's our Val.
So there's a lot that just happened here. So first of all, this Valvalis fight. Second of all, that hook. But do you want to explain, Possum, why it's so interesting that the hook is what's here?
So it's very interesting because Val cannot gate your logical underground access. So what this means is that there is a magma key somewhere on the overworld. That could be through a cheeky D-Mist. It could be through Za. It basically just means that the hook is not our logical underground access. So it'll be very interesting to see where that magma key is. And if our runners are able to get through this Val, because she is not nice here.
Well, I think the stone is actually a little bit more scary. Okay, got through it. I thought he was on 3 punches. I was watching Sorbius. I'm like, okay, Val will go down in 4. But yeah, gets through it. Very nicely done. That took some quick menuing there.
Yes, it did. Very, very heads up by Sorbius. One of the nice things about Val there, thankfully, is she doesn't get a ton of physical evade multipliers there. The other option, and Solaris has pointed this out in chat, is if you can get the vampire off first, you can do 500 to 600 damage before the tornado comes up. Once the tornado's up there, you're not doing any magic damage, but you might be able to just go vampire punch and be out of there after the first week hits. So it would be risky though, because if that vampire fails, you've wasted a turn.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one. Val is not a nice one to find there.
I mean, the interesting thing, and I'll be curious to ask Sorbius about, I got the impression watching that Sorbius had done that fight before.
Yeah, Sorbius and Tybalt both have done a lot of free enterprise. They're both very much so grinders of the game, very knowledgeable, very capable runners. And that's part of why this match is so interesting, is they're both so good, so consistent, and yeah, it's going to be an absolute blast for the entire time that they're running this.
Yeah, this is good stuff so far. I did see Sorbius just sell that crystal glove, by the way. Hopefully we'll find something better than that, because honestly, for Paladin's Hustle, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, I mean, your only things better than that are Zeus Gauntlet, Protect Ring, Crystal Ring, basically. Crystal Gauntlet's extraordinarily good. But we have Sorbius' stream. There we go. Hiccuped for a little minute there, and we have Tybalt going through. He is going to try the vampire first, and it is...
Oh, no.
Not what you want, because Val has 254 magic defense there. And this is where that vampire strat gets a little rough, because now you just get punched and you fall over, and this is rough. So he needs a dodge from Yang here and did not get it. So this is huge advantage to Sorbius early on here. You know, certainly the seed is not over by any stretch, but that is a big pickup for Sorbs to get through that first try, and now get to have fun with a Mylon and some friends here.
Man, we are just rolling through the fiends in this seed so far.
Yeah, Kainatsu was our starting boss, was that?
No, it was the dolls.
Oh, the dolls. Have we seen Kainatsu yet?
I don't think so. We did see Leviathan.
Okay, let's put Kainatsu on the hook route then.
No, wait, what? No, because they're not going to have to do that. I want to see a required Kanazo at. Let's go with the Ogopogo spot. That's pretty rude.
It looks like Kainatsu was Baron in one, so there we go.
Okay, we did. So wow.
It just happened.
We just got to find Mylon Z and we complete our whole set here. So.
Yeah, fiends percent in a hurry.
24-minute fiends percent.
Oh, that's a scary lightning strike on Sorbs' stream there. I feel really bad for Kane right now. And also feel bad for Tybalt. That is wipe number 2 to Val, who is taking absolutely no prisoners against that Yang right now.
Yeah, the thing that's really frustrating about this for Tybalt is you have to think that Tybalt in his head knows there is a way through this fight. I just have to figure it out. And there is so much writing on getting this fight done because you're getting the Paladin Cecil, you're getting this hook. We didn't even talk about this, but that hook is actually it's a required objective item with that pink tail. So there's a lot riding on this, like we were saying.
Yeah, and even, you know, crazier is Sorbius didn't buy the cure pots either. He just found them. So the loot routing where Tybalt opted to go the Eblin route versus Sorbius, who took a more conventional approach with, you know, some Watery Pass, some Baron looting, a little bit of Antlion looting. He was able to get through largely by virtue of those 2 Cure 2 pots he found along the way. So yeah. It's kind of a shame that just the random looting ended up being really the big difference here. And there's not a ton that the Tybalt can really even do about it.
Yeah, and he's going to come back. That's a good move. You've tried it 3 times. I think you do have to just kind of come back here. The other thing that made a big difference for Sorbius, kind of in looking at what Tybalt's Yang had equipped there, is that black belt, which I know we were talking about that when Sorbius came off Fabul, that he was putting the black belt and the bandana on Yang, but that was an extra 50 damage per punch, which saved him an entire round.
Yeah, and it may have been the reason he put them on there was to save menuing later. If he was just deciding, hey, I'm going to go up ordeals, and I know that I'm going to need, you know, this damage on Yang, he may have just done that preemptively. But looks like we're back just in time for dueling Rate That Treasuries. Oh, baby.
Who's going to have the better treasury? Vote in chat right now.
Diamond ring out of 10. Oh, there, for sure. That's huge. And a Stardust Rod. Okay. So diamond ring out of 10, but a Stardust Rod and a power shirt. Those are 2 huge pickups.
Yeah, those will definitely help. I think that was a fairly underwhelming treasury, but at the same time, I think Tybalt, if he had come here first, actually would not be having that problem with Val. So it's kind of unfortunate because, again, that power shirt, yeah, he's just gonna, even the black belt, but he's just gonna throw it right on Yang here, and that just will make a big difference. Actually going right back to our deals, which, I mean, I kind of can't blame him because you still want to unlock that Paladin Cecil too, so.
Yeah, what's going to get really interesting here is I know that Tybalt is going to be thinking in his mind, I tried this 3 times. I know how good my opponent is. Tybalt used to go by Tybalt the Gambler. I'm expecting some really cheeky plays from Tybalt after running into this Val multiple times. And I think we're going to get a big show from him, one way or the other on this. It's going to be spectacular from this point on, because I don't think he's going to follow a conventional route from here.
Yeah, Tybalt is definitely a smart enough runner to know that that's pretty high likelihood. So I agree, it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens here. I'm also wondering if Sorbius feels lucky, for lack of a better term, getting through that Val the first time.
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much that he would feel lucky, or as you alluded to, it seemed like he had done that fight before. Maybe it's one of those things where he just knows exactly what he's capable of, and as a result is now going to be very comfortable and very much so kind of in the zone because of it.
Meanwhile, Tybalt's Yang is going to 3-punch this Val, I'm pretty sure.
I hope.
Oh, I think he's seven hit points short.
Oh, that's brutal. Speaking of Yang and reasons why you would get punished for going up Zot before doing ordeals, here's a free fight and 9,000 experience. Ouch!
Wow, this is like it's just everything's coming up Sorbius right now, I have to say.
Yeah, I think part of that is, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and it just seems like Sorbs is prepared for exactly how this seed has played out so far. He's starting to snowball, and that's really dangerous for a runner of his caliber. When he gets ahead of steam, he's a very quick runner. I know, having played him in the past, he was 2 minutes ahead of me leading into one singular boss in a run that we did. And he is a very strong downhill runner.
Yeah, and this seed is absolutely giving you everything that you need, so I don't anticipate that's going to stop anytime soon.
And given the option now of a second Black Mage, Rydia, should he choose to take her on, and possibly another character should we be fortunate enough to see it. Come on, Tybalt, let's go. There we go. Excellent. Good job, Tybalt. Ooh, that is a character that is being added to the team. That is Rosa in the Tower of Zot. Vanilla or not, she is getting instantly added to the team.
Yeah, I think we have our party.
Yeah, I have to agree with Chad here. I don't think Rydia makes the team. I think this is Rosa, Yang, Cecil, Kane, and Palom, and that's a pretty good starting 5 in this game.
At this point, I don't even know if Sorbius checks the hook character, because I don't think there's anything this party might want except maybe an edge, because I am fairly sure Sorbius has 2 ninja swords at this point. Oh, that is a hook rope.
Gross. That's a dead Palom, which is an issue. That's not the fight you want to see right here. This is one of the few fights that is actually quite dangerous for this party, because they just don't have the healing right now, and the punches are just strong enough to deal fatal blows after the waves. So a little bit awkward for Sorbius here.
Yeah, the board AI dealt him a bad knock there. He had the Cure 2 targeted on Cecil, and then Ogopogo knocked him out, so...
Yeah, I think this becomes the Kane jumping and Yang healing show for me. I would just be throwing my cure pots on Kane as much as I could. Unless board AI just decides that is not what's going to be happening. Kane is barely going to live through this with about 50 health.
Meanwhile, let's take a second and just talk about what Tybalt's doing here. Immediately rushing, and there's the edge. Oh, and also, if you're really feeling lucky, Tybalt, that's a free boss to get underground. How lucky is Tybalt feeling now?
I mean,
just to completely avoid that. Well, I guess we have to do Zod at some point, but I don't know. That's an interesting proposition anyway. If you're feeling behind.
I actually don't think that edge is that big of an edge right now, but I think once we get underground, that sets up the ability to steal sirens as opposed to doing something like a Mac Giant grind. That edge represents a whole lot more down the road than it does right now, but it's still a huge pickup for Tybalt. Is opting to take on the Staleman chest, though. This is the sneakiest single chest in the game as far as trap chests go. More unanticipated deaths from this chest than anywhere else, I would say. Yeah. And there's a sleeping edge right away, but Sorbius is through Ogopogo. Very well done to recover that fight from the brink of death.
That is very impressive from Sorbius. And yeah, Tybalt also has the 2 ninja swords. I know one of them was from the treasury, so I'm not surprised at that, but I didn't pick up on where the other one was from.
Yeah, I think they may have both been in the treasury, actually. But either way, double ninja sword it does represent a ton of damage, not just now, but also late game. Double ninja sword edge outdoes Yang at moderate levels, outdoes Kane easily. This is a little sketchy, though. We need this Ice 1 instead of Ice 2. We need this to go quick. That's not gonna do it. Oh, this is bad.
Sorbius, meanwhile, is paid off with Objective 4 for completing the Tower of Zot and the Magma Key.
Yeah, so that Magma Key gonna get him underground. Looks like Edge woke up and is going to get darted for a short sword, and the Staleman goes down, so Tybalt is also going to save the fight. So very fortunate there, and gets some Artemis arrows. That is also really nice. We were talking about an egg grind earlier, possibly. If you wanted to facilitate one, now you can quite easily one-shot everything.
Yeah, this is, I know we said that everything's coming up Sorbius right now. I do not think Sorbius goes and checks that hook route and gets that edge, though.
If his Cecil has exit, I could see him doing it, but only if that Cecil has exit already.
Well, Rosa has exit.
Oh, good point, Zot. I could see him checking it simply because he has exit. If he didn't, there'd be no chance. But he might also want to check the shops there. It'll be interesting because those are some of the best shops if he wants to try to find a lightsaber, if he wants to try to find like a full moon to back row and, excuse me, not a full moon because he doesn't have the edge, cat claws, things like that. The hook shops, the Cave Eblin shops are really good. So I could see him wanting to maybe go shopping there also.
He also knows that this boss is free. We know it's one of the Baron guards, although that Octomom in the first spot it should be fine, but it's not as free. This party should be fine with it, but it'll get knocked down pretty quickly. But for another party, this might be kind of a rough fight.
Yeah, this is going to be a very punchy octopus. Thankfully, the Thunderclaw is something that is available. And this is one of those fights where you actually aren't going to see jumping here. You're going to see Sorbius just take this on and go with regular punches just because you want to slow this silly boss down. It's more important to just knock tentacles off and reduce the agility than it is to get the, big damage in. but also looks like cover strats happening a little bit here, taking advantage of Cecil's paladin capabilities, where he is able to cover anyone who's in critical HP. So that is a huge boon for this fight as well. As you alluded to, other parties that might struggle with this, Cecil makes this fight significantly easier.
Yeah, this has not been too bad. And Tybalt is back up, headed through Zot as well, so going to be a little bit behind here, but probably pretty, I would say going to be pretty happy when the dust settles if he can get through these fights smoothly and probably a little more quickly than Sorbius did with that double ninja sworded edge, so...
Yeah, and he also may opt, once he gets underground, to immediately do a siren for a yellow dragon and get Rosa to Berserk and Blink. If he has Berserk for that edge, especially for Dwarf Castle, he's going to fly through Dwarf Castle. It looks like there's a character that exists in Dwarf Castle. I think it looks like we are going double White Mage, no? Sorbius says no to Porum for at least right now. See Buy is not on this flag set, so you can recover characters from the Tower of Wishes in Mysidia, and we may very well see Sorbius do that later. For now, just opting for that Palom instead of Porum.
I think, yeah, he's thinking about it. I don't see any reason why you need to keep that Palom around, but you probably can get a little bit of like mid-game utility out of him in the meantime. But I think ultimately 3 Berserkers and 2 White Mages is a really solid party, especially when we're not necessarily wanting to get to nuke levels for the Z fight.
Yeah, the only kind of slightly awkward thing about that is you get to nuke levels with Yang as a hero anyway if you want 28 agility, since he hits 28 at exactly level 52, which conveniently is when you get nuke or white on Palom and Porum. So it's one of those things where depending on what he would look for to boost his Yang's agility to get to a nice agility breakpoint, and this is looking an hour into the future possibly, but one of those things to consider, maybe he only gets to 25 agility and buys a Charm Claw or a Ninja Hat to give him a +3 agility boost. But those are the types of things that runners of this caliber are also going to be thinking of, is what's my end game look like and how far am I going to push for levels versus optimal breakpoints, etc. And there's a Murasame. That's going to make Tybalt a little happier than it'll make Sorbs from Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a little bit of a whammy. Although Sorbius did get some nice XP on that Rosa, which I'm sure was probably the goal of doing that check anyways.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she has Blink, she has Berserk now, so that's fantastic. It really gets that Berserker team going with a little bit of backup support in Palom. With that Stardust Rod. I think if not for the Stardust Rod, Sorbius would have instantly binned that Palom, but I think that Stardust Rod plus Quake just represents so much functional damage against some really icky bosses for a Berserker team.
Yeah, it's not a there's no good or bad decision at this point, and both parties are going to be fine. We'll see. It depends on if you think the seed is going to be kind of fast or slow. And at this point, this is certainly shaping up like it's going to be a long seed. So I do agree it might not be the best option to put all your eggs in the Berserker basket, so to say.
Yeah, well, speaking of putting your eggs in the Berserker basket, that is exactly what Tybalt has done. He now has Rosa and 4 melee fighters. 4 dudes who are going to go burr. They're going to drink some wine. Because they're sophisticated young men, but drink they will and berserk they will, and eventually things are going to fall over. So Tybalt has put all his eggs exactly in that berserker basket.
There's Demist, by the way, in the Asura spot, and we also have a Sparkle, and it's not Wyvern, so we don't care.
That Demist, though, I'm suddenly hoping that that's required, but I don't think we're going to see Sorbius take that on right now. I think that would be very ambitious. And I would not fault our runners at all for last locationing, let's say, a Darkness Crystal, if that's where the Darkness Crystal is.
Well, I'm going to say it. I would totally do that Demist right now, especially after pulling a Murasame and an Artemis bow out of my last 2 checks. There is nothing left at this point other than Keyless Tower and Sheila 1.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm trying to think, is there anything he could do with the hook route? Probably not. So yeah, he's pretty much beholden to those 2 checks. So you're really going to go looking here in Sylph Cave for that Sheila 1 check, and then go play with that Keyless Tower if this comes up empty as well. And looks like Tybalt ended up on the short end of the Ogo Pogo stick there. Again, just an unfortunate fight when you don't have curatives.
Yeah, and both Sorbius and Tybalt opting to not heal up before that second boss spot and getting... Sorbius eked it out, but Tybalt gets punished. I will say, again, we were talking about stealing Sirens earlier, and that Demist is looming pretty large right now. I think the more this seed is opening up to us as viewers, the more it is playing to the strengths of Tybalt's party. But he's gonna have to kind of get some momentum going here, because it's just, unfortunately, it's been kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back throughout the early part of this seed so far, and we really want to see him kind of tread some of this and make up some of that ground that he's ceded to Sorbius so far.
Yeah, I have no doubts that I would much rather have Tybalt's party endgame. But this seed now needs to run very long and needs to be like hard required moon plus in order for that to pay off and make up the majority of that time. So I do wonder if, as soon as a Darkness Crystal is found, if we don't see Tybalt go right up there and maybe take an alternative path as well, maybe go, either like a full top down or a Crystal Sword Altar first, try to spike something strange to make up time. We shall see how it goes.
I just think if I'm just thinking in my head and just kind of, I wouldn't say I'm hoping, but let's say that Demist has the Darkness Crystal. I think Tybalt going underground, stealing a bunch of Sirens, and taking the time to kind of get his party up to maybe like high 30s, maybe early 40s, it's going to be a pretty good investment in this seed. And we don't know if that's the path that our runners have to follow yet, especially because Sorbius, unfortunately, continues to have some stream issues here. But yeah, just kind of thinking about the relatively little amount that's out there that we still need to find out about this seed, it's looking like that might be a hard required demist at that spot.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is, like, if Tybalt can get underground and start to make some headway, he also has the ability to buy darts, and darts are so amazing against demist. Darts will basically just do pure damage. They won't have any impact from defense. There's not going to be any issues as far as getting punched in the face. You'll be able to recover, buy some drain spears, chuck them at demist. It'll make that fight much easier and much faster as well. Again, should that fight be required.
I kind of wish Tybalt had a stack of darts to throw at this Ogopogo, and I'm sure he does too right now, unfortunately, also.
I would highly consider taking the Gungnir Spear off Kane if he has that. I'm not sure if he does or not, and just chucking it, and maybe anything else as well, because you know that your underground access basically has to come from this. So, or something that comes off of this, a Twin Harp, a Baron Key. I would absolutely be, let me find anything in my inventory I can throw, even if it's already equipped, and just go.
Yeah. I'm sure Tybalt's also just kind of, I feel really bad for him because, you know, it's one thing to get stonewalled at one spot, but then to have it happen again, it's just really unfortunate. And that is unfortunately something for runners that can mentally kind of snowball as well. If you feel like you're behind, you start rushing, you start kind of having a hard time processing, something else that's very frustrating and very difficult. And I really, really want everybody to be rooting for Tybalt to get through the fight this time.
Yeah, I think everyone is rooting for Tybalt to get through it. I don't think there's a single person who's not. I mean, maybe Sorbius, but he doesn't know what's going on in the trials and tribulations that Tybalt has faced. But as far as that's concerned, I mean, we want to see everyone succeed, and all of our runners in the tournament who are still left in our field of 64 that remains, they've all done amazing work to get to this point. And this does just show that regardless of how good a runner is, there are still some bosses in some spots that do not take any prisoners. They are going to punch and kick and fight their way to make you have a miserable time. And Sorbius has just barely gotten through things by the skin of his teeth as far as the Val fight and then the Ogo fight. Tybalt has had the exact opposite luck. The fortune has favored Sorbius, which you kind of alluded to earlier, but Tybalt is thankfully through this Ogopogo.
Yeah, very nice. And yeah, I will actually have to go back and rewatch the VOD. I don't know how Sorbius got through that Ogopogo fight. And there's our Darkness Crystal from Sheila Wan. Well, so much for that demist, I guess.
Well, it could still be hard required, right? There's got to be a way.
Absolutely could, but I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon. If I was a runner in this situation with this much of this seed left, just getting the Darkness Crystal and basically my only other options are that demist and Keyless Tower, I'm going to the moon. I don't know about you, Possum. I am booking it up to the moon at this point.
I'm going to the moon, but I would want to be peeking every character spot first because I'd be looking for a Tella right now. This is going to be the driving force to find Sorbs that edge, I think, and then he's probably going to bring that edge on in place of Palom, steal some Sirens, do some Sirens, and then head up to the moon. I would expect him to probably get Rose. I mean, you might even grind Rosa to Cure 4 right now. We see he sold one ninja sword, but not the other, knowing that he has the Murasame. So also holding out hope for an edge as well. So kind of heads up by Sorbius, hoping and praying that he finds either an edge or a Tella.
Yeah, absolutely. Is going to get paid off here in short order. And yeah, I think you're exactly right. Sorbius is just... He's been very, very methodical going through the seed. I really like the routing. I really like a lot of the decisions that he's made that maybe didn't seemed a little surprising at first, but then you just kind of take a step back and it absolutely makes perfect sense. I think the one to me that really stands out at this point is choosing to not do that treasury before doing ordeals. I think that worked out really well and has just led to Sorbius just flying through this seed and kind of just grinding through it without too much difficulty.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way because I personally would have gone through and I would have done that treasury first 10 out of 10 times. So huge kudos to both runners for opting against the treasury. And this is interesting from Sorbius. This is how little people respect Kayn in the mid and late game. Is Sorbius, with a full Berserker party and access to Sirens, has decided, Kayn, get off my lawn. I'm keeping a kid with a Stardust Rod. I didn't expect it, but I don't hate it either because Kayn is just not that great late game.
I think at this point, that Moon is almost certainly required. I like the keeping the party a little bit more balanced at this point. So, and you got to think you're probably going to get those levels pretty close to Nuke, if not there, having to run through those Moon bosses. So.
And interesting as well that it looks like Sorbius may be using a niche edge tech here to steal Bacchus wines from Mad Ogres, or might just be trying to spike a shiny sword for Cecil. Eblin Castle is good for both, so he may be opting for the double chance at either the Mad Ogres having value or just having Bacchus wine for him to steal. So it'll be interesting to see how Sorbius goes about this, whether this is a Bacchus dive, a potential shiny sword for Cecil dive, or both.
I mean, I think ideally you want it to be both for sure. But yeah, you've got to think Sorbius is going to steal a handful of Bacchus wines once that time comes.
Yeah, it's going to be, as chat is alluding to, a little bit of a slog to try to steal him. He does at least have Palom to stop the ogres, but it is going to be a little bit of an annoying fight. I think I would personally opt for just stealing sirens and trying to get, power over via levels. Maybe get up to like level, I want to say it's 38 to learn's Cure 4, something like that.
Yeah, it's 38 or 39. I'm also in my head imagining Sorbius just like yelling at the monitor, being like, "Where are those darn Mad Ogre?"
I believe we know from Tybalt going through Castle Eblin that all three are in the right tower, if I remember correctly. There's Cat Claws. And I think we're about to see a couple Cat Claws get purchased here on Tybalt's side, which is good for that Yang, at least short term. You don't necessarily want them on going into the Zeromus fight at the end of the game, but definitely good to have now. And Tybalt did buy a couple Drain Spears there. Convenient that the Drain Spears are located where this Demist is, and I wonder if that means that Tybalt may be opting to take on this Demist now rather than later. That would be a very interesting and gambly play.
There's still a lot out there that we as viewers don't know. We don't know where the pink tail is. We don't know where either half of the forge is. So yeah, I mean, we will see how this goes. Also might just be setting up to, I don't think Tybalt checked the sparkle, so may just be doing that.
Well, that's a good point as well. Definitely could just be sparkle hunting, setting up in case it is a wyvern. Although looks like he's healing up Cecil alone, so I think he might be taking on this Demist based on this party.
Okay, yep.
This is going to be interesting because that Yang is going to be sitting at about, 30 agility probably against a 66 agility Demist at the Asura spot. This is going to be, I'll say fun, but I don't think fun is the right word for this.
Yeah, I think Tybalt was hoping for double damage there, not triple damage on this on Cecil.
Yeah, I would be personally slapping the Cursed Ring on Yang here, taking the Cat Claws off, and if you want to go after this fight, I think I would approach it with just a Cursed Ring strat. And if this is kind of your hill to die on, where you say, I know Sorbs isn't going to do this, and I need to do something because of the troubles I've had, I think there's an easier way to do it, and I think that way is with a Cursed Ring, as far as with the high agility.
I also just think, I know it's really tempting to try to take this fight now, but I think you also probably go do Sirens first.
Yeah, and especially with the Drain Spears available, if you grind Edge up to, high 30s for levels, those Drain Spears are going to be doing 4,000 plus, and then you go buy 5 or 6 of them and the fight's over. So I think there's a lot of ways to approach this one. I think all of them will eventually work. It's just simply a matter of what's going to be the best for time.
That being said, it does feel like the fight is fairly stable right now. I just think even if it does get through it, and it's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster ride, it's just going to be a little bit slower than it would be otherwise.
Yeah, and we do have Sorbius has sized a Mad Ogre, has killed off the entirety of his party, is sneaking all of his Bacchus wines, doesn't want to rely on just Rosa, So it looks like he is going through and trying to sneak his way to victory. And that is one of the neat things about Edge on this flag set, is you cannot buy any of the tier 5 consumables, all of those creature comforts that we've become used to. So no Bacchus, no Hourglass, no Sirens, none of those things that just make the seeds go. Those are all gone. So you have to find a way to get there, and the way to get there for Sorbius is currently this Edge and sneaking.
So how many Bacchus wines do you steal here?
If I wanted to pay respects to my good friend Martin Broadcloak, I would steal exactly 19. But there's no way I would want to spend the time stealing 19 Bacchus wines, so I think Sorbs will probably stop at a good dozen. I think that would be a pretty comfortable number for him. And I did not see exactly how many he stole there, but he was in that for a decent time. Now I might be tempted to pick that Rydia back up because, man, Bahamut's a good spell, y'all.
Bahamut is pretty good, I have to agree.
My least favorite of the trap chests, because these cats. I hate these cats so much. Oh, this is bad.
Oh no! I've chat. I know what's coming. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but it might happen.
Don't do it. Okay, that's good. Dodge the bullet. I would be punching the child right now. I know that sounds horrible out of context. That kid needs to fall over.
He is about to do something very, very bad to this part. Okay, he didn't do it.
Sorbius dodged a huge bullet. So, chat, what we're alluding to there is, when charmed, Palom can cast anything from his current spell inventory. He could have cast Quake. Oh my goodness, there's a crystal. Wow.
Okay, so, anyway, Sorbius.
Yeah. Okay, well, any potential advantage that I thought Tybalt might have been able to get from having that early edge, I think we're in trouble here. As far as Tybalt's late game prospectus here, Sorbius, by virtue of the Crystal Sword now, has taken the leveraged advantage that he had and is now just going to be pushing. Looks like he may even be doing Keyless Tower now.
I mean, I think it's at this point, you just feel like you won the lottery, and I don't mind this idea of just going and being very thorough and methodical and clearing the seed at this point from Sorbius' side. I have to share one story, though, which is the very first clip I ever made on Twitch was my Palom getting charmed and quaking my entire party to death.
Yep. I've had a Palom cast Quake, cast Virus, and I've had a Rydia, of all people, cast Media on my own party because she was level 61 and decided that she needed to be able to cast Media on something because I hadn't done it. Tybalt, meanwhile, gets a glass hat from D-Mist, not the reward he was looking for and something that would have been really helpful in that exact fight, but we do get to see what that D-Mist will turn into.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this check because I could absolutely see Sorbius just fading that for a long, long time.
Yeah, potentially forever.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if this is Wyvern, Sorbius then becomes either the Forge or the Pinktail away from Go mode.
I mean, the way this is going for Sorbius.
Yep.
Wow.
That big wave. That's actually frightening. It's Ogopogo's big wave, not Kainoxo's big wave. Okay. That's quite nice for our runners, because if that were Kainoxo's big wave, you would only have Cecil and Yang alive.
Psst, Sorbius, you have a crystal sword.
He's taking pity on Wyvern. He wanted to pet the bird instead of Blarg the bird. I mean, Ogre Axe, Crystal Sword, they're basically the same thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wyvern knows.
That's actually a pretty impressive nuke for this spot.
Well, I believe the nukes themselves are not weighted the way that like the Mega Nuke is with the rolls. I think it's a static spell set.
Oh,
so,
right, because it's part of the script, isn't it? So,
yeah. Objective complete. Well, another power shirt because, I mean, this is Zerper City, so...
I mean, the other interesting thing at this point for Sorbius is Sorbius knows, because he knows where Demist is, he knows he's just purely in a key item hunt now. Whereas Tybalt has that Wyvern kind of probably hanging out there, knowing how Tybalt has... where he's probably at, feeling behind, you're really hoping you just kind of find that Wyvern in an out of the way spot, which, to be fair, Sorbius kind of just did that, but yeah, this really simplifies things quite a bit for Sorbius now.
Definitely. I do have a question for you, Blaze. If you're in Sorbius' shoes, you know the moon's available, you know that terminal key items are more likely to be on the moon than not. Do you go after Luca Cave? Do you go after Demist and leave no stone unturned on the Earth? Or do you head to the moon at this point?
If it was me and I was in Sorbius' shoes, so Sorbius is sitting on 6 key items. We're stealing sirens. I have to think we're going to cash in at least a few of them before we go up to the moon. I would finish off the Earth. I want to just get to 10 key items as soon as I can at this point.
Yeah, I think I also would grind up to Cure 4 on Rosa, and by virtue of now having a Crystal Sword and the rest of your Berserker team, I think I would call it good from there. But that would be kind of the route that I would go. And yeah, I tend to agree with you that I would look at that Earth first. Demist is not really going to be a problem once this team is leveled up. Palom is going to be doing big damage still. Crystal Sword, darting. That Demist is going to be considerably quicker if Palom is able to get those quakes off and Edge is able to dart those drain spears or whatever else.
Yeah, and I don't think there's really a ton of advantage to actually grinding on the moon versus grinding on eggs at this point either. So I just think a lot of the things that are... I think there's a lot of reasons to stay on the Earth, and I don't see a particularly compelling reason to rush up to the moon if I'm Sorbius.
Yeah, and I guess the only way that how could Demist gate? Yeah, Demist actually couldn't be hard required now that I think about it because of the way that the chains would play out. There's nothing that can have 2 key items at the end of it. It's all singular chains.
Yeah, I mean, either way, you at this point you have to know if you're a runner that the moon is required.
Yeah.
But especially with Sorbius having defeated that Wyvern, you're Tybalt knows most of the boss spots on the Earth now, so that makes the moon actually more appealing for him, I would say. But yeah, I don't think there's necessarily a wrong answer. I think if I'm in Sorbius's position, and this is me, and I tend to play pretty conservatively, I'm kind of thinking about ways that I know I've played a really clean seed at this point. I'm thinking of ways that I could lose the seed, and one of the ways I could lose the seed is absolutely fading that Demist and having it be super duper required.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely one of the potential ways out. I do wonder, though, if Sorbius will dive Luca to peak and then just from there. I wonder if he just says no to the time requirement of Demist. We know it's going to be faster for him, much faster than Tybalt, but it still requires a walk down to the Fey March, taking the fight, waiting for some mist transformations. I just wonder if that's the type of situation where he says, I'm good with checking for the Luca spot because it's a quick dive down, but he doesn't want to deal with the time involved in getting down to that Demus. And it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out, especially because Tybalt is about to get his Darkness Crystal once he completes Sheila 1 here, and we may see him just head straight up to the moon as well. So we could have some very interesting plays happening here.
Tybalt's also really keeping us in suspense of this Demus here, and you know, we need to see what that key item is. I'm dying to know.
Well, I think you're about to find out what that answer is, and as Chad is pointing out, if Pinktail is something like a Crystal Sword or even an Excalibur, that really levels the playing field as far as the advantage that Sorbius would have picked up from that Castle Eblin. And there's a Baron key, so that's definitely going to keep Tybalt on Earth. I don't think you can get away from the Baron key at this point.
The one thing for Tybalt's sake that I was rooting for would be the tower key before we saw that it was the Baron key. I was really hoping it was the tower key to kind of basically take him by the hand and make him go to the tower, the lower Babel down below. So we'll see what Baron key turns into. But yeah, this is also a little bit of a danger point for Sorbius if we're finding out from watching Tybalt that these are turning into just chains to nothing, which is entirely possible.
I mean, if Baron Key turns into, let's say, Tower Key, then that will drive Tybalt back down there. But Tower Key then would also need to have Pinktail or Legend Sword, or something that leads to them in order for Tybalt to kind of get back into things. Because if they keep following relatively similar routes, Sorbius just built up so much time on the Val fights and the Ogopogo fights that it's going to be very difficult to overcome if they follow kind of standard routing with each other. So I think Tybalt taking that Demus was absolutely the right call in his case. It's just a matter of will that pay out or not, and you know that's what we're going to find out very shortly.
Yeah, and if you're Tybalt too, you absolutely have to do this Baron key now because that's your demist item, and you put all that time into it. So I could see Sorbius ignoring it, although probably not again, just because the amount of time it's going to take him to run through and bonk a couple bosses with the Crystal Sword is just so small. But
yeah, it's going to take far longer to walk through Baron and go through the cutscenes and actually kill the bosses for Sorbius, and that's pretty much true of anywhere he goes at this point. Power Shirt, Strength Ring, Crystal Sword, Bandana. That is one beefy Cecil who is going to do bad things the rest of the seed.
Also, for anyone who is curious, Sorbius stole 8 Bacchus wines.
And a little surprising to me, decided to go past Cure 4 on Rosa for the grind. I kind of thought he would stop there, but he may be opting to just use all of his sirens right now that he stole. Figures I put the time in to do it, let me get my levels, and then if I end up with even more power overwhelming by the end of things, great, it'll make my life even easier.
And this tells me he's going to Demus right after this. The fact that he's syncing all of these sirens right now.
That's a good shout, because it definitely makes sense. If you're willing to go this hard on the levels now, that means you're not expecting to get as many levels from the moon. You're kind of hoping that things like the Luca Dive or this Demus will have the answers. So that's definitely a good point, that you do a heavier grind now than if you were to head to the moon, where you'd get these levels kind of more naturally. Meanwhile, a firebomb makes quick work of those dolls that were hanging out in Baron instead of in Dwarf Castle. And we're going to get a peek at what is on the Baron throne from Tybalt. And it looks like we have a Sparkle, which is D-Leaners at this point, or Plague, right?
Yeah, I think so. We've seen the other 3.
Ugh. I hate Plague at crumbling spots. It's the slowest crumble ever.
Is it though, or does it just feel that way?
Yes. Yes to both.
Yes to both, yeah. And Sorbius, meanwhile, doing Luca Cave first, which I can't really. This seems fine routing wise. You get that demist. You probably just want to go check it right away. So this seems a little bit more efficient if you are planning to do both. Get your underground done here. I do just think one other thought just to share that I had, and it's kind of just thinking about, watching Tybalt go through this barren castle, kind of following the chain, following the decision that he made to do that demist, to kind of run through this chain. I'm just a little bit surprised still that he hasn't gone and stolen sirens and leveraged that edge. That it's entirely possible. If I was in Tybalt's position, I would say it's entirely possible that my opponent might not have that edge, might not have gone and checked that hook route character, and that would be a very nice thing for him to do. That it's a bit of a time investment, but you're taking advantage of something that you might have that your opponent might not have. And I don't know if it would have made things play out a little bit differently. I mean, we definitely talked about it during the demist fight, but it would definitely be to his advantage, I would say, to leverage that edge and get some levels out of it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. For me, when I get an edge early on, one of my first thoughts is, how do I get my levels? And not how, but when, and how soon is when. Looks like Sorbius finds just a white shirt, already knows where Demist is, already knows where Wyvern is, and says, that's a great shirt, and I'd love for my Rosa to have a white shirt, but I don't need to spend the time getting this white shirt. So nope. that's going to be that.
And meanwhile, Tybalt got the pan, and is unfortunately still checking boss spots because doesn't know where Wyvern is yet, like we do.
I think he just found out where the gauntlet is, though. Yeah. So, yeah, Tybalt has that pan, gonna go turn it in, see if it turns into anything, and Sorbius, meanwhile, surprising, I think, both of us, says no to Demist and is on his way to the moon. I was not expecting this.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I can't really argue with it. If I guess logically, so we did talk about this a little bit, Possum, or you brought this up. He's down to 1 check on the Earth now. We know that all the checks are 1-to-1 from here on out. So by that logic, you know that Moon is going to have your final objectives. You might have to go through it, you might have to full clear it and then come back and do some other stuff, but you know that if you just fade that demist, you are not going to necessarily lose because of it.
Yeah, Sorbius at this point, he does understand the simple math of it, that now maybe everything is behind absolutely awful chains and you have to do all of the moon just for 1 or 2 things. But you're kind of in a situation where, do you do demist for potentially half of it? Like, let's say it's the pigtail. Do you do demist for exactly the pigtail? I think I would still want to try it, because if it's the pigtail, that means Value Cave is my go mode. If I choose not to do demist, I run the risk of having to run around the moon and maybe get like Twin Harp into Rat Tail, into Tower Key, into Pinktail, or like half of the Forge. It's really tough with that demist, and I think it's kind of runner's choice on that. We shall see how it turns out.
Yeah, and I totally get your logic, and I probably would have gone back and done that demist too, but I can absolutely see where Sorbius is coming from here as well. He's got to feel like nothing is going to get in his way the entire rest of the seed, and
for sure.
That's just it's a long run down for 1 check, whereas you can just go up to the moon and start clearing it. So,
and here we go. Tybalt also got his white shirt. The white shirt not going to do him any favors as well. Says, nope, I'm out. Did he check the boss down in Sealed Cave, though?
I believe he did. I didn't see what it was, but I believe he did.
Because I would have been... He did. Okay, good. Because I would have been surprised if he didn't peek for Wyvern. But Baigen being there is fantastic news, because that means Baigen's not on the moon. And you just hate to see a lunar Baigen.
Yeah, lunar snake arms, not fun to deal with, so...
But it looks like we have Dr. Luge, the good doctor, Dr. Dialogue, hanging out in Value Cave, deciding to give a break to our good friend Bahamut today. This is not really a fight that poses any threat, especially with a Thunderclaw and a Crystal Sword. This doctor is not long for the world.
Oh yeah, this is such a good fight for Sorbius. You kind of beat me to it there, but I was thinking the same thing. And it's just, especially in this spot where most of his attacks aren't even going to do much of anything. Once you get to kind of the dangerous part of the fight, like, yeah, this is going to be pretty easy for Sorbius here.
And I think we see Tybalt finally making that play of let's go steal some sirens. Apparently the alerts and the monster boxes are nowhere to be found, but he is attempting to find them nonetheless.
So did Tybalt just use the pan and then not go turn it in? Did he do the pan and then come straight to the tower? I was watching Sorbius's fight.
He did, yeah. He did the pan bonk, got a life staff, and then decided, hey, I'm going to go steal my sirens. Looks like he's attempting to kill off some of his party members, which may be easier said than done, because I think that Cecil is still set up for not crystal strats. That's the crystal ring Sorbius picked up. Tybalt's set up for cover strats, which is going to make that Cecil really hard to kill.
I think this means logically we know that the pan probably turns into the tower key then, knowing how Tybalt's luck has gone so far this seed.
That does seem to be the case. That's probably where that pan is going to turn into. But I wonder if he does Keyless Tower now, or if he does the pan bonk first. It'll be interesting.
I certainly hope for his sake he does Keyless Tower. I hope that's the case. And then I also hope the pan is not the tower key. I hope it's the pink tail, just so we really get a good spicy finish here.
Definitely. And yeah, horrible luck on these steals so far. I think he's like 1 for 5. Finally getting a little bit of a payoff here. Looks like on the moon we have, I guess, a character that exists up there. It certainly won't be one that ends up in this party after a grind, but that is a Porom on the lunar dais.
I think that's the third Porom we've seen in the seed, so the seed was not lacking for white mages, which is something we haven't always been able to say in this format.
Yeah, half the time you find yourself ending up with like Tella as your white mage, and you go, oh, I mean, thanks, I guess. I'll just use Sid with a stack of Cure 3s, but that's a cute idea. Looks like Sorbius is opting to go top down. Does make sense because he doesn't have a pass, so if his go mode is here, if this is the pink tail, then he saves himself an entire trip down the lunar subterrane. So I definitely like this routing from Sorbius, attacking this Murasame altar first.
Yeah, me too. That's a really, really good play. Especially when you find this thing here.
Yeah, that's rewarded right there. And we do see Tybalt going up Keyless Tower. Very good.
Yep, that'll be nice for him to find that Wyvern for sure. And we're going to anxiously await what Sorbius is going to get here from this Pale Dim Spot check behind the free boss as well. Everybody else, go take a coffee break.
Yep. Coffee break. I've seen runners be ambitious enough to take full restroom breaks while this fight plays out. And then you see the experience come up on the screen and you're like, what happened to the runner? And then you come to find out they've decided to, go clean a little bit, play with their pets, go take a bathroom break, go get the twin harp, always remember to fade the twin harp. Whatever it is that happens, that's what King Queen Evelyn are for.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing that twin harp anytime soon, but Sorbius is going to be pretty happy, I think, at this point with any key item. Although we know, kind of like for the numbers again that chat's been talking about and we've been talking about, this moon should be pretty rich with key items.
Yeah, it almost has to be. And it looks like Sorbius... Okay, he is going back in. I was wondering if he was going to chase the harp. I think that would be a play you'd be more likely to see Tybalt do at this point. I think Sorbius knows that he's run a pretty clean race, so that he doesn't need to gamble on Twin Harp leading to something like Pinktail. And if it is Twin Harp leading to Pinktail, he probably also knows that unless you're feeling in a really gambly mood, you're probably not save scumming out of the moon just for the Twin Harp, which is one of the longer checks in the game.
Yeah, so I'm just going to throw this out, and I think Wylam in chat just beat me to it. So, Possum, let's say you're Tybalt right now. You get this Wyvern down. You go check that Pan. Pan has the Pinktail. Suddenly you're in go mode.
Yeah. It's possible. And that's the beauty of the rando. Is that, you know, for the last, honestly, hour, we've thought that Sorbius has had a decided advantage. But that's where that demist gamble can come into play. And it's one of the things that we kind of stated that, you know, meanwhile, Tybalt completing objective number 1 of defeating Wyvern, that if you make a gamble like that on the demist, because you know that you had something not go your way, you have to take that approach. You don't have another way out if you feel like you know your opponent when you've had the same struggles. So that would tell me that both Sorbius and Tybalt have played the correct race, regardless of who wins. They've both made the adjustments they've needed to make.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And Sorbius, again, just finding everything that he could possibly hope for with this Dark Elf at the ribbon spot, which...
What Dark Elf?
Yeah, it's going to be... Blinking, you're going to miss... I was wondering if that was going to... It doesn't matter. Piggy Pally is still going to do quad 9s to this poor Dark Elf, poor Dark Dragon.
Pig beating up a dragon, this kind of feels like natural selection gone way wrong.
I mean, I think we all know pigs are the superior species in this equation, but...
Oh, and then some. Very quickly through that fight, surprising nobody. And we shall see what awaits Sorbius behind doors 1 and 2 here in the ribbon room. That is a death sentence for Tybalt, unfortunately. Yeah. That's the Pinktail. And I hate to say that's all she wrote when it's not over on stream yet, but I would take some sort of miracle for this to go any way but Sorbius's now.
Did he even check the second spot?
I think it was the rat tail.
Oh, maybe his stream clipped or something. But yeah, no, I'm with you. If there was not a crystal sword in the equation, I would say Tybalt could somehow, possibly, maybe eke this out. If you know, he could just gun it right to that ribbon room and find a way. But boy, that crystal sword with the hit points and the Rosa, I just I don't see how Sorbius can lose this at this point.
And I mean, it's one of those things where Sorbius had a much cleaner early game. He honestly played a very, very good race, a very strong race. What effectively is going to be start to finish. And then on top of that, the choices he made and the gambles that he went for, things like stealing the Bacchus wines and doing the trap chest. So not only did he play well, but he also got rewarded on top of that for his gambles. So it's one of those things where everything, and you've said this a couple times this race, as Sorbius gets his crystal here for turning the Pinktail in. Sorbius has had a lot of good things happen to him this run, but a lot of those are byproducts of how he's played.
Yeah, he's just played an absolutely... in terms of execution, I would say just an absolutely flawless race. And we've kind of bantered and discussed back and forth about routing choices and things that he's done that, you know, did actually pay off or made, you know, in terms of the outcomes were very, very good for Sorbius. But maybe if they had come up a little bit more whammy, we'd be sitting here saying, well, Sorbius, you know, spent all that time in Ebelin Castle for some Bacchus wine and a Bahamut that he didn't end up using. And look, Tybalt's got a chance to catch up now, but absolutely that is not what happened. All of those decisions that Sorbius made just absolutely turned out to be the right ones. So,
yeah, I will also say that not turning in the rat tail for Sorbius there, a little surprising to me. as that could have been a spoon or a pass. One of which obviously represents 10,000 damage. The other represents about 2.5 minutes of time saved. So a little bit surprising there to not have that rat tail turned in. I wonder if he saw the pink tail, never even saw the rat tail, just exited out and said, all right, here we go.
I mean, in his defense, I didn't see the rat tail, so I'm with him there. Oh, there's the pass, by the way. Tybalt just found it at the pan turn in. So that whole Demus chain through Baron Castle and the pan turned into the pass, which...
That hurts.
That hurts, yeah. Tybalt, you know, and that's just how it goes sometimes. That's why we do best out of 2 out of 3 as well. You know, Tybalt is not out of this by any stretch. Extremely good player, extremely talented runner. Has not had luck go his way tonight, but is not out of it. It can come back, win match 2, which I'm going to go look and see when that is scheduled while we're watching Sorbius run down to the Zemus fight. But this is not over, and this series is going to be really good. So definitely check out games 2 and potentially a game 3 as well between these two.
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow. I think they scheduled Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, same time, all 3 days, if I remember correctly. But looks like we have Sorbius running down the lunar subterrane. I assume we'll get a save here, and I would assume we'll get some final equipping. Probably check Yang's agility, though may literally not even care because he has a crystal sword. So he's at exactly 25 agility. Has a crystal ring from Bahamut Cave. That's going to put him at 30. That is plenty good. You would want 28 generally, but 30 is close enough, especially when you have this level of power for the physical berserkers. I don't really foresee too many issues. We do still have Piggy Pally, and I do hope we get to see Piggy Pally running into battle.
Yeah, same. I'm glad that chat pointed that out because I was about to mention it as well. And you are correct. Yeah, they're playing tomorrow night and Thursday night. You know, I don't know about you, Possum, but I keep thinking it's Monday. Funny how that works.
Yeah, that whole 3-day weekend thing, at least for myself, threw me off because I always get thrown off by such things.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. So, but yeah, Sorbius is ready to make the descent here. And yeah, just as you were alluding to, 30 agility is a really good place to be in. Basically, 27 bad, 29 and above good. So, well, 28 is perfect, but like you were saying, you'd rather be above than below. Friends don't let friends do the Zemus fight with a level 27 agility anchor, everybody.
I mean, honestly, with a crystal sword, it doesn't matter what your agility is.
That's fair. And the Bacchus wine in case somehow Z accidentally like snipes your Rosa, I guess.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Z, Moonblaze Wolf, I see a bunch of flags in chat that say Z, and I am not that tired yet. It's only 6:45 for me. What are those all doing there?
I mean, I'm tired a little bit, but my Monday was long as we were describing. But no, we need to know, and chat wants to know. Chat is begging, nay, demanding a butt that we can kick. So it is time to ask, whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
And is it cute? And does it have a butt?
All of these questions will be answered as soon as, yes, Scala beat me to it. Show us, use those show emotes if you have them, chat, from the new show emote. Let's show this butt and let us see what kind of butt it is.
And we wait, his true colors emerging. So many show emotes in chat. I love it. Great job, y'all. And
great job, Scala, again.
That is Oogie Boogie.
It's a cute butt.
And it does have a butt.
It has a big butt.
Yes, it does.
Oogie Boogie, bring in the booty. And yeah, I think canonically Oogie Boogie would absolutely be weak to the Crystal Sword, but in this case, Oogie Boogie is going to be extremely weak to this Crystal Sword, as Zemus often is.
Oof. 6,200. That's a bad number for Zemus and a great number for Sorbius. Now, I know Sorbius is a fan of buying a whole ton of Cure 3s to keep his people alive. I don't know that he has a single Cure 3 in his inventory right now, so he needs this Cure 4 to fire before this Big Bang comes out, or else his edge is not going to be an edge anymore. So that's really good that Cure 4 comes out, and he is going to be off to the races here. The only question now is, do we see a second Big Bang? The fight is going to be elementary from here. That's really the only thing that I'm curious about.
Yeah, it was a really heads-up play, by the way, from Sorbius there. Just a little bit of a shout-out to this nice play. He sat on Palom just in case that Cure 4 didn't get off, and I assume what he would have done is if Edge had gone down, he would have just had Palom right there to raise him back up. Because Palom's going to use a Star Veil now and probably get off like 1, maybe 2 viruses. You'd much rather have Edge up, darting, attacking, slowing down Oogie, doing Edge things, so... Nice heads-up play there by Sorbius.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a couple of reflected spells. Palom is going to be air quotes helping here. That's about it. But he's going to try. The kid's done good, and he deserves to play a little bit.
Tybalt, meanwhile, does finish off the Dr. Luggage in Cave Bahamut and is just now one Ribbon Room altar fight away from that Z fight as well, so hopefully Tybalt's going to be able to finish this up in pretty short order here as well.
Yeah, and with Tybalt having the pass, he may opt to go straight to the Ribbon Room as well, rather than going and doing the Murasame altar, simply because he doesn't have to take a second walk down the Lunar Subterrane like Sorbius did. So it could be one of those situations where he might get to shorten his moon trip a little bit. And for all of the trials and tribulations that Tybalt's been through, he may very well finish this seed less than 10 minutes behind Sorbius. Given that he didn't have a Crystal Sword, he struggled a little bit with Val, struggled a little bit with Ogopogo, took on the D-Mist, did all of this extra stuff, and still very close time-wise. You would not expect, after everything I just described, to be 10 minutes or less behind.
Did that D-Mist fight in the entire chain that followed it.
Yep. So that's the thing, is these runners they're both so good. I mean, yes, Sorbius is going to come out ahead on this one, but you can tell just from that time differential that Tybalt is absolutely game for this match.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
There's rocks.
There, yeah. This is very, very close to being finished up here. Palom, gonna go take a nap. It's past your bedtime, young man.
Yep, and speaking of naps, Zeromus taking a permanent nap for Sorbius. That is the crack, the flash, the boom, and Sorbius is our winner with an official time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 10 seconds.
Yeah,
GG
and just so everyone is aware, Solaris, our restreamer, did bring this to our attention. Because of those stream hiccups and the like that Sorbius was having, his clock was running a little bit behind what was being shown on the stream. So no weirdness, no hijinks or anything there. It is not a mistake. Sorbius was, in fact, about 4 minutes in the future from what we all thought, where we thought he was at. So, but very well raced.
Yes, very much so. GG's to Sorbius, and I heard a dinging in my ear, and I just have to assume that means Sorbius is with us.
Yeah, greetings from about 4 minutes in the future. Sorry about all the frame drops and whenever my internet decided to not cooperate tonight.
We'll just call it Spectrum and say GG Spectrum, right?
Close enough, yeah.
I think your internet maybe couldn't handle all the fortuitous and just very, very solid play. I mean, we were kind of remarking pretty much at every point throughout the seed. Your execution was just absolutely flawless tonight, Sorbius. So GG's on a really well-run race. And how do you feel about getting game number 1 in the bag in this series?
I mean, it always feels good to start a game up in a best 2 out of 3. So I'm feeling pretty good. I felt like that went pretty smoothly. I'm glad I faded D-Mist. Yeah.
Yeah, initial thoughts from you. There were a couple of kind of sticky situations you got through very smoothly. The first being Val and the second being Ogopogo. Kind of take us through both of those fights, if you don't mind, and kind of give us your mindset on those.
When I saw the Val fight, I was like, I'm glad I bought those 2 Cure 3 or 2 Cure 2s in Baron when I started the seed, because that would have been rough otherwise.
Okay, so you did buy them. Awesome. We thought you had found them randomly,
Nope.
but buying them turned out to be very prescient.
Yeah, I saw them in Baron, and I didn't have anything to sell to buy more than 2, so I just bought 2, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna note these and come back for them.
I think
And then
the
I
thing
picked
I
up
noticed.
one third one in a chest, and that was what I needed.
Yeah, that must have been the one that you saw, Possum. I thought that Val fight was really smooth, and you looked so comfortable in what is a very uncomfortable fight, to be perfectly honest. Is that something you had in a practice seat, or had thought about how you were going to get through that fight? Because you just did it perfectly.
I mean, I've played a lot of practice scenes in this flag set, and I have had much sketchier Crystal Room fights than that one. With the black belt on Yang, I knew he wasn't going to get wrecked other than being weaked. And I knew I had the Cure 2s in my inventory to recover from weak, so as long as Val wasn't taking double turns or something, I didn't feel like I was in that much danger, honestly.
All right, very confident. So you kind of called it, Moonblaze Wolf, that Sorbs was definitely prepared and looked like he had done that fight, and apparently many other more difficult ones. What about that Ogopogo? You were very much so on the brink there.
Yeah, step 1, don't panic. Step 2, run buffer. Step 3, cross your fingers. And yeah. I mean, Cecil getting crit by Ogo and dying was really unfortunate. Because after that first hit where he took 102 of his 100 health and died, he took like 2 and then 24 and then 12 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, he clearly failed all of his dodge rolls on that first one. And it was just unlucky. And then I happened to manage to get all the cures I needed off to get through that. But yeah, that was a bit of a pulse raiser. I was like, well, that's going to be 3 minutes resetting and walking back in here and doing the cutscene and whatever. But no, Cure 2 went off and we got there.
Yeah, you really you stretched a really nice lead over Tybalt in those 2 fights, because I mean, he struggled, as I think a lot of us would with them, taking multiple wipes at both of them. The interesting thing that Tybalt did that we thought might level the playing field for a little bit, well, there were 2 things, but the first thing was he got that edge a lot earlier than you did.
Yeah, when I saw the edge, my first thought was, crap. Tybalt's had an edge for probably 15-20 minutes now.
Yeah, and that absolutely, it didn't come into play as much as we thought, because you did end up kind of doubling back and getting that edge. And then the other thing was Tybalt did do that demist, and there was a point where you were the pink tail away from go mode. Tybalt was going up to Keyless Tower, and we knew that he was going to be a pink tail away from go mode, and he actually hadn't finished that chain yet, and we were wondering if that was going to come back to bite you, and obviously it didn't. So I guess you kind of alluded to the demist check earlier. I'm kind of curious why you chose to leave that one check behind and maybe expose yourself to that happening. And you kind of already talked about the edge a little bit, so I won't worry about that too much.
I mean, largely, when I found Demist, I didn't really have a great way to kind of smoothly get through the fight. It probably wouldn't have been, it would have been reasonably free with Cecil covering with Blink from Rosa, but it certainly would not have been fast. And I felt like I could cover more ground, turning in Sheila 1, doing the top of tower, checking Luca Key in the same amount of time and just get more checks done. And then by the time I'd finished those, I realized Demist could only be required if it had exactly the pink tail. And with all the zonks we found, I knew the moon had to be loaded with key items. So
it
I was
absolutely
like, I'm
did
going to
work
gamble
out.
that the moon has either both halves of forge conveniently, or just the pink tail somewhere, and it happened too. But I mean, to your point, it's just as likely that Demist just had pink tail and Tybalt won this by 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, you know how us commentators are. We really want to try to envision the scenario that keeps it the most interesting, and it absolutely would have done that. I guess one other question I had for you is, so how about that crystal sword?
When I found that, I know Tybalt likes to loot Eblin Castle usually, and I was like, crap, how much longer has Tybalt have a crystal sword than me? Like, oh no, I'm super far behind. Did he not ever find it?
He looted initially in Eblin Castle, but never went back for the trap chests.
Okay.
So
Yeah. I kind of hate to ask him that, but now I feel obligated to. So Tybalt's a good sport, though. He'll take it in stride. I'm trying to think of a way you could have played this seed any better. Anything you want to, anything you're going to do between now and game 2 tomorrow? Because we know you guys are going back to back to back 3 nights in a row.
Yep, just get it done is where I'm at with these tournament races. With all the qualifiers I've played, I'm looking forward to some time off. So one way or the other, I want to get this series done. Probably just relaxing tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to do any practice or anything. Try to not get seed blending with practice seeds and stuff.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And thank you for giving us music as well on stream afterwards. Finishing very nice of you to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
At some point with my audio setup, this interview will start playing through my stream. So just a heads up, but that'll be 15 minutes or so in the future.
That's future Solaris problems, not commentary problems. So don't worry about that.
Fair.
But yeah, chat appreciates it. Great race again. Again, just everything was really on point. Very fun to watch. Very entertaining. And looking forward to seeing how well you do the rest of the week.
Yeah, thanks again. Thank you everyone for putting this on. Thank you Zeno and Solaris and you Moonblaze and Possum for doing this. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank you for putting on such a great show, and GG's again.
Yeah, GG's. Okay, bye.
Good night. And again, that was our first, our winner in the race tonight, Sorbius. Solaris did just throw the links up for his Twitch channel. You can go ahead and give him a follow, and Tybalt's as well.
Yeah, definitely a great watch. Sorbius does a lot of midday and afternoon streaming. So if you're looking to catch something maybe when you get off work or during lunch, Sorbius is usually going to be your guy for that. Most weekdays, actually. A great stream to watch. High quality runs, as you can tell from today. Definitely someone I'd recommend checking out. Tybalt, more of a late night streamer. Also definitely worth checking out. Like we kind of said about the Crystal Sword and all of that type of stuff, keep in mind Tybalt's not that far behind time-wise, given all the extra stuff he did, the trouble that he had with a couple select bosses, and he's still going to be coming in with a very respectable time this seed.
Yeah, he's in go mode right now, and it's nice to see him just kind of finishing things up. I always like to see that, especially when this isn't over. So Tybalt, can work on his Z fight here, can, think, kind of just finish this out, come back fresh tomorrow. I'm sure he'll be ready to go again.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm going to grab some behemoths here, get about 120,000 XP. Might be getting pretty close to heading on into the final fight. Depends how many of these behemoths he opts to take. But low 40s, he might be pretty close to wanting to take that on, though not as close as you'd like to be with 24 agility, but I think...
Well, he's got that crystal ring because Cade Bahamut had the crystal ring, so I think that's what we're going to see here.
Very smartly actually going with one cat claw to get him to 29. So I think we're going to see Tybalt go into Zeromus at this 29 agility level, or maybe opting for no cat claws and going with a cursed ring and just making his Yang not do much of anything but kind of potato.
I guess he's going to go with potato strats. And yeah, I forgot about those cat claws.
Although anchoring for behemoths is not usually something you want to do because they're inherently extremely slow. I think they have something like 4 agility. So he's actually going to be speeding the behemoth up quite a bit here by anchoring this Yang. So just something to kind of have as a takeaway that you don't really want to mess with behemoths on an even playing field. You want to make your party super fast and keep them super slow. So the only turns they get that way is when you are dealing damage to them and they're countering.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to matter too much in this case, although you don't want to see your Rosa go down and, lose out on that XP because you really don't want any of your characters to but it looks like this is going to end up be just fine here.
Yeah, this should be perfectly fine for Tybalt here. Doesn't look like anyone's really in danger now. I think they're mostly taking a couple hundred damage. Yeah, he's through this fight. And we'll see if this is going to be the last fight he takes. That's a couple more levels. It's going to be a lot of safe HP on Rosa and Cecil, an extra strength ring for his troubles. Mid-40s is a fairly comfortable level for a Berserker party as well. So I think we're going to see him go now.
Yeah, I think so too. And yep, there he goes. So just a little bit of lunar commuting between Tybalt and the finish line here in all likelihood.
Yeah, gonna go turn in that pink tail. We'll get to see if he turns the rat tail in also, just for fun. Don't know if Tybalt is watching the race room to know the result yet, if he has won or lost at this point. But we'll be interested to see if he turns that rat tail in for fun either way.
So Possum, I know are you next week on the bracket?
Yes, sir. Next week.
All right, and remind us who your opponent is.
Zoe.
I'm sorry. What was that? You gotta say that a little louder.
Zoe. I hope V can hear me. Yeah. So there's lots of races. There's 48 of them. Oh, and okay, so Ribbon Room hard required. Rat tail turned into adamant.
Yeah.
But there's 48 races this week or something, and then another 48 next week. I know it's a ton of races that are happening.
Yeah, we have a guaranteed 32 this week because of the best of 3. For those who don't know, we have a 64-person bracket. We've actually split it into 2 weeks, so this is week 1. And then the other half of the bracket will go next week with their best of 3s. So yeah, we're going to have a lot of free enterprise for you this week. There's actually a couple more matches that are happening right now. We'll see about maybe going and checking one of those out afterwards when we're done here. But then, yeah, we got a full slate of matches. We'll have a full slate of matches every day this week. I'm sure we'll have at least a couple of them on Restream. So please come check it out. You can join our Discord for free enterprise. You can find the league channels. There are league channels where you can keep track of the event. If you've been just kind of following along on YouTube and you want to get a little more involved in the community, maybe you want to help out with a restream. This is pretty fun, right, Possum? We always enjoy this.
Yeah, definitely everybody enjoys the commentary side for sure. We get to talk about the game we all love to play. And chat, that could include you as well if you wanted to. Everybody loves this game, and it doesn't matter how much you know about the game. You can be a complete novice at it, or you can be an expert at it. Anybody is welcome on the Restream team. Whether you want to track, if you want to restream, if you want to do commentary, it's an absolute blast, and we'd love to have y'all as part of it.
Yep. If a possum and a wolf can do it, just think what you can do. Oh yeah, Tybalt has the pass. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, he gets to save on some travel time.
There you go. Guess that demist paid off after all.
The demist, the Baron key, the pan. It got there in the end. He's all good.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, let's I'm trying to see, has anything been announced for tomorrow yet for any of our matches? I assume there's going to be 1 or 2 on this channel around this time, given all the signups. Do we have anything on that you know of yet?
I don't think that they've been picked yet. I'm just going to double check, but I don't think the teams the featured matches for tomorrow have not been picked yet.
Gotcha.
But just to go through the schedule, let's see. We got a game 1, I believe, between Cubs Rule and Rybon at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Pink Puffs?
Yes, the Battle of the Pink. Rybon is not a pink puff anymore.
Yes, he is. Oh, okay, he graduated. Fair.
Yeah, definitely graduated. I remember fearing Rybon in the latter season too. So,
right.
But we've got a game 2 between Rex Banner and McBain. If you like your Simpsons memes, definitely come check that out. Game 2 between these guys. Baka, Shinobi, and Slippery, Nightdew and Tancred, Bobry and Mechalink, who I believe have their game 1 that's going on right now as well. And then we have Descartes, Smash, and Loof, which I believe is their game 1 tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, so a full slate, 7 matches tomorrow within a 2-hour time frame. So y'all will definitely be able to get your free enterprise on for sure. It looks like Tybalt went in with a cursed ring on Yang, so going to opt for RA1 Berserker strats, making it so all of his Berserkers take 2 turns, basically per 1 turn of Zeromus, making this a very fast and very safe fight. So I would expect this to be fairly elementary on Tybalt's side, as long as he doesn't get trolled and lose some characters. Looks like he's going to dart the spoon just to make sure that he gets some extra damage in, and kind of go from there. And that naming scheme, as Solaris is pointing out, who, what, why, today? I don't know. Yeah, that pretty much sums up the seed from Tybalt's perspective, because he got trolled fairly aggressively on it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rosa, taking 200 damage from a Big Bang, by the way.
So Yang is on first, nice.
And I apologize, I cut you off earlier, Moonblaze Wolf. You were about to say something before I made my little joke about Rosa not taking damage.
Oh, all I was going to say, because you basically took the words right out of my mouth in your observation, but basically Tybalt just needs Rosa to stay upright in this fight, and it will be just fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who is the hero? Yes, Sorbius.
Yeah, we made that joke an hour and 15 minutes ago, give or take. So yes, we beat you to that one, Sorbius. You may have beaten everybody else to everything on this seed, but we beat you to that one. Looks like Tybalt just going through, whacking this Oogie Boogie, trying to put him to sleep, giving him nightmares of his own. The only question now is, do we get a Quint? Does Rosa get berserked?
For the memes, Tybalt, come on, you can do it. Because he's the boogeyman. Actually, don't do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Or at least get a Cure 4 off and then do it.
If you had a crystal sword, like, I don't know, Sorbius, then do it.
For sure. To answer a question from chat, how many options for the last boss are there? What is it, 530-ish? 540? It's a lot. There's so many of them.
Yeah, I think it's over 500 now with the most recent version update, so yes. Scala knows. Scala is, roughly speaking, there are many.
Ooh, this is interesting. So that Cure 4 fired a little early. This is an unnerfed Big Bang. Well, Yang and Cecil have over 1,200 health, so Meteo can't kill him, so this is going to be all she wrote.
Nope, yeah. And there it is, yeah. As you said, we didn't even see rocks. So, and I think Tybalt has joined us in chat.
Yes, GG to Tybalt. Very well run. We know you had your struggles early, but GG overall.
Thank you, GG's. That early Val and no-go pogo.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, we haven't seen a particularly rude crystal or ordeals room. I don't remember one in any of the qualifiers that I saw. That was absolutely a rude Mount Ordeals room. Talk us through kind of just how that went for you, and you did make an adjustment, which was really nice as well.
I wasn't sure. I didn't have my Val chart up to see if I could hit with magic, so I'm like, okay, I'll try a vampire. Oh, nothing. Well, I no, there's not much health here. I should be able to get through this. And then once I got the power cert from the treasure, I'm like, I should have came here first.
Yeah, it was. Oh, go ahead, Possum.
I was just going to say through, I don't want to call it sheer luck, but maybe some foresight. Your opponent, Sorbius, had purchased exactly 2 Cure 2s from Baron Inn when he went there and found a 3rd Cure 2 in the Chocobo Forest just south of Ordeals. And that was the reason why he was able to get through Val. It's a little bit of good fortune on his part, a little bit of unluckiness on your part. That was such a defining moment, though. But I do want to say that you, in my mind, made the right plays afterwards, where you knew that you had struggled there and you decided to take some alternate paths and take some fights that you probably thought Sorbius wouldn't take in order to try to get your way back into the seed. So I think that I just wanted to compliment that first and foremost, that you did what you needed to do given your struggles.
Yeah, that was my thought process. I went down there, saw the Fame Arch, and I saw Demus, and I'm like, Sorbs isn't going to do this. This is my way back in, possibly. And yeah, that turned out to be.
I mean, you weren't wrong. He didn't do it. And there was a point in the seed where if that had turned into the Pinktail, you might have been able to escape that seed somehow, but it just was not meant to be, unfortunately. But I concur with Possum. I think you made the adjustments that you had to. I thought checking the Hook character when you did was, I mean, the fact that it turned into Edge was obviously the best possible scenario for you, but that was a really heads-up play, and you just showed really good awareness throughout the rest of the seed with kind of understanding the situation, probably knowing your opponent pretty well from everything that Possum was saying, and just trying to put yourself in the best position to win, and sometimes that's all you can do.
Yeah, let's say the seed was not done trolling me yet, considering every single time I tried to zerk somebody up in the Ribbon Room, they got piggied.
Yeah, we noticed that as well, that your Zerk on Cecil fired just after he turned into a pig. Sorbius' Zerk on Cecil fired just before he turned into a pig. Piggy Pallies were on the menu tonight for Dark Elf, but again, Sorbius ended up on one side of the luck coin and you ended up on the other, and that was a fairly consistent theme with this race, that, you know, yes, Sorbius may have played overall slightly better, but fortune was on his side as well tonight. So don't be discouraged by that going forward. Fortune is a two-way street, and it can definitely come back in spades for you.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, for sure. I think Possum really hit the nail on the head there, just saying, you know, things didn't really go your way tonight, but that's rando, and sometimes, you know, you're going to get, maybe you got all your bad luck out of the way tonight and going to come back and give it another shot tomorrow, I'm sure, right?
That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, you've got best of 3, so you're just hoping for tomorrow.
And yeah. Moonblaze Wolf, I know you had a question that you felt obligated now to ask Tybalt about. Do you remember what that question was?
Oh, yeah, I do actually. So we were talking to Sorbius, and Sorbius said that he knows that you like to do the Eblan Castle chests. Did you talk to him about what was in those Eblan Castle chests? Do you know where this is going?
No. Oh, no. Was Martin RNG a thing and found a crystal sword?
Yep.
Yeah, Sorbius pulled just a little bit of salt in the wound. You know, we talked about all the good luck. Sorbius did pull a crystal sword, not even out of the chest where he was stealing Bacchus wines, which I think is a pretty reasonable, smart play to do. But yeah, just kind of turned around, did the Black Cat Lamia chest almost. Oh my, so we totally didn't even talk to Sorbius about his Palom getting charmed. I just realized, Possum.
Yeah, we missed an opportunity there, but yes.
Oh yeah, so somehow escaped that fight and then got a crystal sword. So yeah, everything was coming up Sorbius tonight, and what are you gonna do, right?
Yeah, I mean, had it been a hook route, then yeah, I would have done the Eblan Trap chest, no question asked. It gives you extra levels for that hook route. But with Magma Key, and I knew fairly well that I knew hook route wasn't going to be the progression underground. It was through Zot or Baron Inn. And with the team I had, I felt fairly confident being able to get through Zot. And then Ogopogo showed up.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was absolute worst case scenario for you, for bosses that could have shown up.
Need to add Cure 2s to my list of things to remember to buy. Usually I'm short on cabins, life potions, and tents. Now it's Cure 2s.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I thought the beginning of that seed was just super interesting too, with the package start. You know, things kind of really the power level of that seed ended up ramping up so much, but that seed really gave you a lot of decisions just to make right from the opening bell.
Yeah, it did. I figured Sorbs might go check the character there first, and I figured I'd go loot first, and then see what happens.
For sure. So I am imagining you're gonna have to do a little bit of thinking and maybe a little bit of re-strategizing for tomorrow. Not a ton of time to turn it around, but any other final thoughts on the seed, or anything you want people to know for tomorrow if they're gonna try to come back and watch you two go at it again?
I've got a few tricks left up my sleeve that I haven't showed yet, so hopefully I can pull those out tomorrow and sneak out a win.
I'm intrigued. I like it.
Yeah, and I'm always a fan of Game 3, so I'm definitely going to be rooting for you at a minimum in your match tomorrow. But good luck, and I really hope you can bounce back from this. It was pretty. That's just how rando is sometimes, you know, and it's hard to see when one person's getting all the luck and the other person isn't. But you know, that might be the case tomorrow, where it's complete 180 and just goes the other way. So good luck to you, Tybalt. I hope you have a really good rest of your week racing here in the brackets.
Yeah, thank you, GG's, and have a great, wonderful rest of your night.
All right, so I think that's gonna do it for us tonight here on the Free Enterprise channel. I just want to give one more shout out to our runners. Please give them a follow. Sorbius and Tybalt 2010 there on Twitch. Thank you, Solaris. And thank you, Solaris and Xenocat as well, the rest of our Restream crew. We are going to be going on a raid. We are not going to be raiding one of those other matches because they are in the midst of wrapping up and concluding. We are going to go and raid one of our runners tomorrow night. I don't know if the match is going to be restreamed, but Rybon is going to be doing some practice for us on this flag set. I don't usually ask for raid messages, but you know what? Let's get a bunch of rhinos in the chat, and let's show some rhinos to Rybon when we head on over. And also just remember, no spoilers as well. Let Rybon come and check this out, figure out what happened on the big stage tonight for themselves. And Possum, any other thoughts that you have as we head out on our way here?
I just wanted to say it's been an absolute blessing to be able to do comms with you, Moonblaze Wolf, and huge shout outs to Solaris and Xenocat behind the scenes. Great game one from Sorbius and Tybalt. I'm looking forward to 2 more of these. Sorry, Sorbius, I want to see this go 3. But yeah, great first match. Great way to kick things off as far as I'm concerned. I hope everybody has a fantastic evening. And I'm looking forward to more Free Enterprise from Rybon, one of the best of the bunch for our Pink Puffs, graduating and playing some ZZ4 practice.